even today, Dan Lafferty believes what he did was just and holy. It was chilling, it was haunting, and it'll live with me forever.
It's so good to talk to you. I'm such a fan of this book. I'm such a fan of Jon Krakauer. He changed my life with Into the Wild.
Yeah.
Adapting this has to be a feat. Like, there's so much in here. What was the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge, hands down, was recreating that feeling when you read it. That, it's not every book that does it. It's certainly not every television that does it, but that sense that the reader or viewer has to be actively engaged. That the reader in that book had to be looking at the history of the Mormon Church in order to figure out this crime. And I wanted that for the television series. Well, frankly, let's be honest, I set it up as a movie at first, and it was a mistake. There wasn't room to do that. There wasn't room to tell the Lafferty story in the detail it needed to be told in, to understand all the characters involved, and then to also include the history of the Mormon Church, which would act as the clues to understanding the Laffertys and solving the crime. But then I would come to understand over the 10 years of trying to crack it, I also needed that investigative story. Mm-hmm. Because though it's not in the book, it's I don't know what your experience was, but it felt like that to me. It felt like an investigation.
Yeah.
I think that's what bothers the Mormon Church, is that it felt like an investigation. But I needed that. And that meant, in addition to having the Lafferty story and the Mormon history story, I had to create an investigation story. And I fictionalized those characters in order to hopefully create that same sense of, I need to, as the viewer, stay engaged. I'm living inside of an investigator's mind who is learning new things about the past and the near past and the distant past in order to figure out who did this, why they did it, and where they are, because he knows there's a list of other people to be killed. There's that urgency, there is that heartbeat. And that stuff is not a fictionalization. That is based on the bones of the case. And in doing that and having all of those pieces, I hope, though quite different than the book, that it's a similar experience. I want the audience to be engaged. That took about 10 years to figure out, but here we are.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the essence of the book is the story of the murder is the prologue, and then the rest of it is this investigative piece into everything. And I feel like what you've kind of done too is you've taken Andrew Garfield and he's become the author. He's John. He's the one that's like investigating, getting those pieces for us. And I really loved that.
Oh yeah, you nailed it. Wow, good. Yes. Yeah, because John is your partner in that investigation, isn't he? You're walking shoulder to shoulder with him through that history, through the story. And so we needed that. And I provide two. I provide one point of view that's from inside the mainstream church, and one point of view that's from outside the church completely. And I hope by providing those, people, no matter if you're inside out or outside of the church, no matter how much you know or think you know about the church, you can identify with one of those fresh perspectives, those ways in. And John's seen it now, and it meant a whole lot to me how much he liked it and appreciated it. It meant the world, frankly.
Well, you've been working on this for 10 years. Were you guys collaborating over the years, or was this, I'm going to work on this and then I'm going to show you at the end?
No, there was an ebb and flow to it, because I did put it away for a significant portion of that time. I was not working on it for 10 years straight. I did a lot of research in the beginning, and John was very close to me in that. John was incredibly generous, sharing his context, helping me meet the right family, helping me get into Draper Prison to meet with Dan Lafferty, sharing his actual research. And then, I had to find out more. I needed more detail if I was going to share it, not in a book, but, hearing and seeing everything. I needed to know what they sounded like. I needed to know what they, did in their free time. I needed to know why they were falling in love with each other. I needed all of that. And it was really gratifying to be able to learn new things and bring them back to John and to see him light up. And there was that kind of a collaboration. And then I would go away for some time and write and share drafts with him. And, when you're lucky enough to get a property like Under the Banner of Heaven, and that written by Jon Krakauer, you'd be a fool not to take advantage of that relationship.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
And you said you met Dan.
Yes. Yeah.
What was that like? Because it's like very clear in the book that all these years later, still just zero remorse for what he's done. He thinks like, just tell me about that experience.
I met with more than a few Laffertys. But certainly the Dan Lafferty hours were illuminating, deeply disturbing. It felt like a high stakes game of chess with him. I walk into Draper Prison, which is all these gray painted cinder blocks, and behind this very thick plexiglass window is this man with the brightest eyes you've ever seen. Beautiful, charming, well-read, very smart. And frankly, did not check the boxes of most depictions of the kind of murderous sociopaths we've seen depicted. And that's why I wanted to meet him. I thought, well, what use is it if we just depict these brothers as these monstrous freaks? What's most disturbing is that they were successful, beloved members of this community. And they turned to this. They stepped out of the mainstream culture into a fundamentalist constitutionalist world and then into a fundamentalist religious world. Why did they do that? And why is it that even today, Dan Lafferty believes what he did was just and holy? And the most chilling answer of all to that is because he followed the letter of the law. He followed the rules from these originalist texts. In his mind, he's done no wrong. And if you believe in fundamentalist Christianity, not just Mormonism, he's got a point. That should disturb people. That should make people start to ask questions about what they believe without question from their own faiths. And I wouldn't have been able to get to that place in an authentic fashion if I hadn't sat with him and met him and got to know who he was and why he thinks he was justified. But it was chilling, it was haunting, and it'll live with me forever.
Wow. I wish we had so much more time. I'm out of time, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Such a joy to talk with you, though. Congratulations. I really think it's a wonderful adaptation.
Oh, thank you very, very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Take care.